Music needs to be louder. I know I can turn up the drums from here, but the guitar, I'll have to turn the guitar from here. What am I saying? Good morning, everyone. Pardon our little interruption there. I'm being given some instruction by our director producer. Maybe we just need to do a. Is that better? Okay. Well, good morning again, everyone. Hello, everyone out there in Facebook land. I'd like to say good morning to the people in Zoom, but right now it's just weans, as some people would say where I grew up. It's just weans. Yeah, it's us. But we're going to, yeah, believe it or not, some people say weans.
That's us.
Yes. But we have things to do, and I don't know if anyone is joining us in Facebook as of yet, but one thing I will say I love about what we do is knowing that there are lots of people. I've gotten so many people that have told me I watch your devotion. I don't watch it when we're doing it, but they don't watch it when we're doing it, but they watch it afterwards. And so that's why, even if we don't have anyone watching, it's still important that we do this. I'm being told to sit up nice and straight. Every time you give me a direction, I'm going to tell people what you're telling me.
So why don't we start with a prayer?
Yeah, we should always start with a prayer. And I think I'll read this prayer that I have my little page of favorite prayers. And unto thee be praise, O Lord my God. I beseech thee by thy most great name, who hath been shut up in the prison town of Acca, and who, as thou beholdest, O my God, hath fallen into the hands of his enemies, and is threatened by the swords of the wicked doers, to make me steadfast in his cause, and to direct mine eyes continually towards his court in such wise that nothing whatsoever will have the power to turn me back from him. I testify, O my Lord, that he hath surrendered his life in thy path, and hath wished for himself nothing but tribulation and the love he beareth to thee. He hath endured all manner of vexations, that he may manifest thy sovereignty unto thy servants, and exalt thy word amidst thy creatures. As the adversities deepened and the troubles sent down by thee compassed him on every side, he became so impassioned by his thought of thee, that the hosts of all them that had disbelieved in thee and repudiated thy signs ceased to affright him. I implore thee, O my Lord, by him and by whatsoever pertaineth unto him, to set my affections upon him, even as he hath set his own affections upon thyself. I testify that his love is thy love, and his self thyself, and his beauty thy beauty, and his cause thy cause. Deny me not, O my Lord, what is with thee, and suffer me not to be forgetful of what thou didst desire in thy days. Thou art verily the Almighty, the most exalted, the all-glorious, the all-wise. And this is a prayer by Baha'u'llah. Good morning, Adam. Adam is joining us this morning. And I already told you. I said, hello, Nini. How you doing? We have to make it official. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And how you doing, Daryl?
Pretty good, thank you.
Good? I'm doing okay, except I got this little tickle now that I did not have until about maybe 15 or 20 minutes ago. So, folks, we're going to be sucking on cough drops in hopes of getting rid of this, because we don't want to have a problem right in the middle of a song or whatever. And unfortunately, yeah, I've been drinking, but that doesn't seem to be doing it by itself. Unfortunately, Camby's is sick. We're spreading things, but we're taking turns being ill. And Camby said he didn't know if he'd be joining us, but even if he does join us, he won't be able to share with us in his Camby's moment. And Andy's not with us as of yet, but we're glad I'm glad you guys are here. I'll say that. I'm certainly glad that Adam is here. And today, of course, as always, we are continuing with Shoghi Effendi, The Advent of Divine Justice. And Daryl, I did the math this morning, and we are almost exactly 75% of the way through this text.
Okay.
Yeah. Almost exactly.
Not much left.
Yeah. But last week, we read about, obviously, again, reading from the Advent of Divine Justice, but I just thought Shoghi Effendi was taking us now into, good morning, Janet. We're glad you're here. Shoghi Effendi is taking us into the importance of once certain steps have been taken in the North American continent, USA and Canada, in the Baha'i community, then we start moving down into South America.
Right.
Into what were then, I don't know what the number is now, but at that time there were 20 countries in South America. I'm assuming it's still 20, but he pointed out there were 20 nations in South America. And he was, and Shoghi Effendi, at the point that we were reading last week, was basically saying this should be your frame of mind. I mean, he said that we should all sacrifice and volunteer to grow the faith. And he also talked about, a few notes here, that again, the step in North America was the initial step to be followed by movement down into Latin America. And and we got into what he called the second stage in the progressive unfoldment of teaching activities and enterprises and so forth. And he talked about the adversities that would probably, that those people who chose to pioneer down there, the adversities that they would probably encounter, and the frame of mind that they should have, and the fact that, you're going to have some challenges, but basically, and these are just my words, what he was saying is what we're told many, many times, just keep on going. You've got to keep on going. As a matter of fact, here's one point where he quotes Baha'u'llah. I believe he's quoting Baha'u'llah here. It might be Abdul Baha. But he says, let them be unrestrained. Yes, it's Baha'u'llah. Let them be unrestrained as the wind, and which neither the sight of desolation nor the evidences of prosperity can either pain or please. He also said, in so many words, this has got to be all wholly for the sake of God. Your ego can't be involved in this. And so, and there will be many blessings to be enjoyed as a result of the good work that's being done down there. Now, remember, this was about almost 100 years ago, and there certainly are many, many signs of the progress that was made at that time and that has continued as a result of that plan. And so Shoghi Effendi is giving people encouragement and telling them, he's coaching them. And today, what we're going to do is continue in this section where he is quoting extensively from Abdul Baha and Baha'u'llah, and as he tells us, or tells the believers in that day, what their frame of mind should be and what their priorities should be. And finally, with that big long lead in, I'm finally going to stop talking, Daryl.
Okay. I'll pick up from there.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, let these soul-stirring words of Baha'u'llah, as they pursue their concourse throughout the length and breadth of the Southern American continent, be ever ready on their lips, a solace to their hearts, a light on their path, a companion in their loneliness, and a daily sustenance in their journeys. O wayfarer in the path of God, take thou thy portion of the ocean of this grace, and deprive not thyself of the things that lie in its depths. A dewdrop out of this ocean would, if shed upon all that are in heaven and on earth, suffice to enrich them with the bounty of God, the Almighty, the All-Knowing, the All-Wise. With the hands of renunciation, draw forth from its life-giving waters and sprinkle therewith all created things, that they may be cleansed from all man-made limitations and may approach the mighty seat of God, this hallowed and resplendent spot. Be not grieved if thou performest it thyself alone. Let God be all sufficient for thee. Proclaim the cause of thy Lord unto all who are in the heavens and on the earth. Should any man respond to thy call, lay bare before him the pearls of the wisdom of the Lord, thy God, which his Spirit hath sent down upon thee. And be thou of them that truly believe. And should anyone reject thy offer, turn thou away from him, and put thy trust and confidence in the Lord of all worlds. By the righteousness of God, whoso openeth his lips in this day, and maketh mention of the name of his Lord, the host of divine inspiration shall descend upon him from the heaven of thy name, the all-knowing, the all-wise. On him shall also descend the concourse on high, and each bearing aloft a chalice of pure light. Thus hath it been foreordained in the realm of God's revelation, by the behest of him who is the all-glorious, the most powerful. So I'm going to stop myself here and just say, if you ever needed confirmation that all it takes is intent to be successful, here is the confirmation that all it takes is your intent to spread the seeds, and God will provide all that you need to make sure that this happens. So, and it doesn't matter that if you're by yourself, is what it's saying here. It doesn't matter if you're all alone. All you have to do is start the process, basically.
But isn't that hard, man? Isn't that challenging for some people? That was challenging for me. You know, the idea of going into an untouched land, if you will, an untouched area, and setting up housekeeping or setting up shop, if you will, and just living your life, but living it in a way that hopefully you'll be a shining example while deliberately also trying to spread the faith. I don't know, that's got to be, it's challenging. I mean, let's face it, it's challenging. I know thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, maybe millions of people have done it. It's one thing to be able to do that in your own home, and certainly there are, that certainly has great worth. But to pick up and just go someplace and just start. I mean, this is what he's telling us.
Yeah, and that's what he's telling us to do. Okay, and the other thing, the other side of this is we're not just talking about the southern continent. We're talking about the world.
Exactly.
So, and Baha'is for the last 100 years have gone all over the world, and the message has gone all over the world, but it is only because of these individuals who have chosen to be pioneers that this process has been achieved.
Exactly. So true.
Let these words of Abdu'l-Baha, gleaned from the tablets of the divine plan, ring likewise in their ears as they go forth, assured and unafraid on his mission. O ye apostles of Baha'u'llah, may my life be a sacrifice for you. Behold the portals which Baha'u'llah opened before you. Consider how exalted and lofty is the station you are destined to attain, how unique the favors with which you have been endowed. My thoughts are turned towards you. My heart leaps within me at your mention. Could ye know how my soul gloweth with your love, so great a happiness would flood your hearts as to cause you to become enamored with each other. The full measure of your success is as yet unrevealed, its significance still unapprehended. Ere long, ye will, with your own eyes, witness how brilliantly every one of you, even as a shining star, will radiate in the firmament of your country the light of divine guidance, and will bestow upon its people the glory of an everlasting life. I fervently hope that in the near future the whole earth may be stirred and shaken by the results of your achievement. The Almighty will no doubt grant you the help of his grace. The Almighty will no doubt grant you the help of his grace, will invest you with the tokens of his might, and will endue your souls with the sustaining power of his Holy Spirit. Be not concerned with the smallness of your numbers, neither be oppressed with the multitude of an unbelieving world. Exert yourselves. Your mission is unspeakably glorious. Should success crown your enterprise, America will assuredly evolve into a center from which the waves of spiritual power will emanate, and the throne of the kingdom of God will, in the plenitude of his majesty and glory, be firmly established.
Now I gotta stop you. First of all, good morning, Gilbert. You didn't say good morning, Gilbert. He came in. If you recall, weeks ago, very early, months ago, when we started this book, Shogi Effendi was kind of outlining the challenges, the spiritual challenges of that were, that the Baha'is at that time were faced with, the spiritual challenges of living in this nation where materialism is rampant.
Right.
And we could just load on so many other, negative traits, or characteristics. Not that he was slamming it. He was still saying that, hey, these are the things you're dealing with. And yet now, Abdul Baha tells us, if you just do what you're supposed to do, exert yourself, your mission is unspeakably glorious. Should success crown your enterprise, America will assuredly evolve into a center from which waves of spiritual power will emanate, and the throne of the kingdom of God will, in the plenitude of its majesty and glory, be firmly established. I think it's probably safe to say we ain't there yet, but I don't know about you, but sometimes I read and I have this, this hope, this expectation of this, almost like a Renaissance painting, the paintings you'd see where, maybe it's a landscape and the sun is coming up and there's all this amazing brightness and so forth. Like that day will be a spiritual day. And yet, no, it's in small steps, and sometimes it's raining, and sometimes it's cloudy, and sometimes you don't even know you're making progress,
Right.
and yet
Right.
you still have to keep doing what we're told to do. It's just I just think about again, we still have to plant those seeds and understand that it's an ongoing thing we have to do, and
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's not a program, because a program has a beginning and an end. The
Yeah,
process continues.
yeah, and
So
yeah, and sometimes it's easy to become impatient and disillusioned.
can be.
Impatient and disillusioned, and yet we're told if you just keep working, plant those seeds, and that's again, it's wonderful to read these promises because they're very encouraging. They're very encouraging. I see you put your book down. Why you put your book down, man?
It's time to do a song.
It's already
Yes.
okay. Can you hear the call? Can you hear the call? Can you hear the call of that crimson ark? Can you hear the call? Can you hear the call? Can you hear the call of that crimson ark? Well, they're gathering. Well, they're gathering. Well, they're gathering on that crimson ark. Well, they're gathering. Well, they're gathering. Well, they're gathering on that crimson ark. It's the cause of God. It's the cause of God. It's the cause of God on that crimson heart is the cause of God. It's the cause of God. It's the cause of God. All that crimson heart. Allow upon. Can you hear the call of that crimson heart? Allow upon. Can you hear the call of that crimson heart? Can you hear the call of that crimson heart? Allow upon. Can you hear the call of that crimson heart? Can you hear the call? Can you hear the call? Can you hear the call of that crimson heart? Can you hear the call? Can you hear the call? Can you hear the call of that crimson heart? Can you hear the call of that crimson heart? Can you hear the call of that crimson heart?
All right. It should be remembered that the carrying out of the 7-year plan, this is years ago, remember, so we now have a 9-year plan. The carrying out of the 7-year plan involves, insofar as the teaching work is concerned, no more than the formation of at least one center in each of the Central and South American republics. The 100th anniversary of the birth of the faith of Baha'u'llah should witness, if the plan already launched is to meet its success, the laying in each of these countries a foundation, however rudimentary, on which the rising generation of the American believers may, in the opening years of the 2nd century of the Baha'i era, be able to build. Theirs will be the task, in the course of successive decades, to extend and reinforce those foundations and to supply the necessary guidance, assistance, and encouragement that will enable the widely scattered groups of believers in those countries to establish independent and properly constituted local assemblies, and thereby erect the framework of the administrative order of their faith. The erection of such a framework is primarily the responsibility of those whom the community of the North American believers have converted to the divine message. It is a task which must involve, apart from the immediate obligation of enabling every group to evolve into a local assembly, the setting up of the entire machinery of the administrative order in conformity with the spiritual and administrative principles governing the life and activities of every established Baha'i community throughout the world. No departure from these cardinal and clearly enunciated principles embodied and preserved in Baha'i national and local assemblies common to all Baha'i communities can under any circumstances be tolerated.
Okay, Darrell, I got to stop you there, man. And here's the reason. As you know, I'm a college professor. You've also been a college professor. I'm reading this and I'm picturing people listening and starting to glaze over. Because this is where the hard part is. This is not just listening to it, but establishing it. This is the hard work. It would be so wonderful if we could go to some, just find some spot and just start teaching and just do it. And people would just come and then just do whatever their positive response would be. And then we could, jump on our horse and ride off into the sunset and say, that's done. But it's not. It's not. But we need to point out that what we see here is, number one, growth. This plan of growth is not haphazard. It's
right.
actually a plan.
Not at all.
That's right. It's an organ, and it doesn't even rest all on the shoulders of the North American believers. Yes, they go plant the seeds, but there's a point in there. I can't remember which. I've marked so much here, but there's a point in here where he points out that certain responsibilities. Wait a minute here.
It's not just planting the seeds; it's helping those communities in each of those areas to establish administrative order.
Yes.
And to set up local spiritual assemblies in each of those areas.
Yes. And this is the sentence I was looking for. The erection, he's described the administrative order and so forth, or mentioned the administrative order. And then he says, the erection of such a framework is primarily the responsibility of those whom the community of North American believers have converted, have converted to the divine message. And so, I'm sure for people in that day, and even for people of this day, if you feel, it's like you were reading earlier, if you're feeling alone and so forth, number one, you're not. But number two, if you do the work, you won't always be alone. There will be workers. There will be people that come along and do the work with you where you can, they will be empowered and enabled to do these things and help grow this faith and help establish this administrative order. But I also noticed this sentence where, it points out my words, standards, and he used the word principles that you have to adhere to. He says, no departure from these cardinal and clearly enunciated principles embodied and preserved in Baha'i national and local institutions common to all Baha'i communities can under any circumstances be tolerated. I'm going to go ahead and shorten that. No departure from these cardinal and clearly enunciated principles can be tolerated under any circumstances.
Right.
You got to stick to the book. You got to stick to the plan.
With the plan.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. And I just felt that, and that, again, we've said it many times, we'll say it again, it's just as relevant today. There is a plan. But again, when you start reading the nuts and bolts of the plan, it would be so wonderful that, there would just be, again, this amazing moment, this explosion of a miracle that just makes all the work, makes it all happen, instead of having to go in there and actually do the work. But this is what is necessary. But again, it's methodical. There are standards and principles to adhere to. There are steps that you go through, and there are, and the purpose is, again, go in there, plant those seeds, grow this faith, and enable and empower the people in that area to do the work.
Well, I know that on its surface, it seems like doing this is difficult, but planting seeds is one of the easiest things you can do. In any situation, if you plant the seed, it's not going to take much for it to grow.
That's also, if you plant it in the right place, that whole thing about sand, some fertile soil,
That's
sand,
right.
rock,
That's
and so forth. You're right, but but again, you still got to plant them. You're right. You're right. You still got to plant them.
This last sentence kind of says it all. This, however, is a task that concerns those who, at a later period, must arise to further a work which, to all intents and purposes, has not yet been effectively started.
Yes.
All we've done is plant the seeds, and we've started the process. The rest we can leave in God's hands because He'll take care of it.
And you know what? I'll say something that I said last week. Let me ask you. I don't know. Have you met any, Baha'is who are of Latin origin?
Oh, many.
Have you met any who are actually from a South American country?
Yes.
So somebody must have done something.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. So I just thought I'd ask you that, knowing the answer.
Okay.
You want to continue?
I'll let you continue.
Okay.
This is a next. My book has the sections marked off. Tony's does not. Mine has headings. He has paragraph numbers.
Yes.
This next section is what Shoghi Effendi is calling in my book the necessary foundation. And I'll just say that.
Oh.
This is the necessary
I
foundation.
think I want to take your book and write all these little subtitles in there. To pave the way in a more systematic manner for the laying of the necessary foundation on which such permanent national and local institutions can be reared and securely established is a task that will very soon demand the concentrated attention of the prosecutors of the 7-year plan. No sooner has their immediate obligation in connection with the opening up of the few remaining territories in the United States and Canada been discharged than a carefully laid out plan should be conceived, aiming at the establishment of such a foundation. As already stated, the provision for these vast preliminary undertakings, the scope of which must embrace the entire area occupied by the Central and South American republics, constitutes the very core and must ultimately decide the fate of the teaching campaign conducted under the 7-year plan. Upon this campaign must depend not only the effectual discharge of the solemn obligations undertaken in connection with the present plan, but also the progressive unfoldment of the subsequent stages essential to the realization of Abdu'l-Baha's vision.
Read that again.
Okay.
Not only.
Upon this campaign must depend not only the effectual discharge of the solemn obligations undertaken in connection with the present plan, but also the progressive unfoldment of the subsequent stages essential to the realization of Abdu'l-Baha's vision of the part the American believers are to play in the worldwide propagation of their cause. The worldwide propagation of their cause. These undertakings, preliminary as they are to the strenuous and organized labors by which future generations of believers in the Latin countries must distinguish themselves, require in turn, without a moment's delay on the part of the National Spiritual Assembly and of both the National Teaching and Inter-America Committees, painstaking investigations preparatory to the sending of settlers and itinerant teachers whose privilege will be to raise the call of the new day in a new continent. That is an inspiring thing to say, to read. Wow. And I'll tell you, while I'm doing all this reading and while I've been reading, I keep thinking organization. Nini and I were having a talk last night, and actually had a brief discussion with Jeremiah that are relevant here. I won't go into what we talked about, but sometimes it doesn't seem so organized.
Sometimes.
I said that, and Tony
Hey,
yelled.
I was trying not to.
And Tony yelled at me. Yes, we are
I
organized.
did not yell at you, but I was emphatic in stating sometimes you can't see the organization or the parts of the organization, and yet there is an organization. It's easy to make judgments based on what we see
No.
on a very
You
local
have
level.
organization. but it's not organized.
Well, and again, I said,
I'm not saying you. I'm saying what I see
Yeah,
as
what
an
you see.
outsider.
what you see, okay, and I still
So
don't like
maybe
you.
there's an
I still don't like when you call
improvement
yourself
need to
an
be
outsider.
done.
You're a friend of the faith. But again, still, it's not always, because again, when you have that human element, it's not always easy to see, let's say, the committees,
Right.
the assemblies,
Right.
and the general framework when you start looking at, individual interactions or, interpersonal interactions, and understanding that even, at the grassroots level, you will have people, some people working differently, but there is still, at least what gives me always hope and encouragement, is knowing that even when things seem to be kind of a mess, and it may indeed be a mess, it's a mess of people who are all trying to work towards unity. And out of that, what may appear to be initially a mess, in times, you will see these glimmerings and these events that show, wow, through all of that, this wonderful thing came out of it. And we learn and we move forward, and we learn and we move forward.
No, one thing I agree, because I believe Baha'is organization work differently than a traditional
Right.
any religions. Okay, so Baha'i is totally different because you guys are very focused on cell group, which is you guys call fireside.
Right.
We call cell group. So it's a little, it's like, I understand, it's like a little cells in your body to make this huge one body.
Right.
So that, yes, it's different. I mean, I have to kind of get used to it, but at the same time, because I grew up in big organization, which is called church, which is a very, very successful business
And there you said it.
in the world, in the
I ain't
whole
saying
world.
it.
It's a real big,
You're right. You're right.
Christian religion is a huge business on earth.
You're right.
Okay, which is nothing wrong with this, because humans sometimes need that to continue the things that they want to sell, or they want you to know. They want to advertise. There's nothing wrong to be called a business. However, Baha'i is totally different because they are not business. They
Right.
do not want to turn into a business.
Right. Exactly.
Which is, I think, is another thing that you guys should always emphasize that, because as an outsider, we just think, oh, you guys are such a mess. It's true, because you
Playing
guys
so many
can,
points with me for a while.
we can't get it together. At the beginning of my, knowing this faith, I just say they just can't get it together. But it's not true. They are getting it together in a very, very small cell.
Mhm.
So it's called, and then it become a unity.
Right.
That I agree.
I'll say this right now. I love you.
I love you too. Continue.
Because
All right.
okay, but what you have said is it is truly profound. It is truly profound. It really, really is, because that difference is a huge and
It's
important
a
difference.
huge difference.
It is.
Yeah.
That a lot of people don't understand that.
I mean, imagine we want you voluntarily to go somewhere.
Right.
We're not going to pay you,
Yep.
but we still want you to do it. It's all voluntarily. We'll give you support, but this is on you.
Right.
And it's still part of your responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow. And that is different.
Well, that word is paramount to the success of the cause of God on the planet. Because we each, once we understand, are responsible. And responsibility is part of the process. We are responsible. And how can you know and not be responsible is my question, always. How can you know what the truth is and not be responsible for spreading that truth?
Yeah.
How can you know that there is a better plan and not be responsible for implementing that better plan? How can you know that the cause of God is paramount to peace on the planet
Yes.
and not be responsible for spreading that plan?
Absolutely.
However, I have one more thing to say. Because
Please.
human is so attention, right? So
Self-serving.
whatever I think, oh, it's good, and then I want you to know, and you need to do that. You need to understand that you need because of ourselves. However, I believe now the level of my life right now, I understand it's not necessary because God and to everybody has their own time. All we need, just like you say, plant the seed.
Yeah.
They
Exactly.
disagree, they don't understand, they have their own way. That's all planted. Don't worry about it. Just plant the seed.
So much of what we want, what you want, is like, I planted the seed, I want the payoff, and the payoff isn't necessarily monetary, but it's the joy of seeing the result of my good work. I planted the seed,
Exactly.
and now I want to see it grow.
It become of our good work. It will become of our proud. We're proud of ourselves instead of, hey, God just want you to tell them about God.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, wow, it's late, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, at this time, we, what we always do is we like to have a moment where anyone that chooses can share a prayer or a song. We usually start with our Canby's moment. And unfortunately, Canby's is ill today. He's got an ear infection and he's got a throat thing going on. And he said if he felt up to it, he would join us, but he still probably wouldn't be able to perform. And unfortunately, he clearly didn't feel up to it. Andy's not with us today.
Right.
If there's anyone else who might want to share a prayer or a song or a reading, this is that time.
I'll start.
Please.
I have awakened in thy shelter, O my God. And it becometh him that seeketh that shelter to abide within the sanctuary of thy protection and the stronghold of thy defense. Illumine my inner being, O my Lord, with the splendors of the dayspring of thy revelation, even as thou didst illumine my outer being with the morning light of thy favor.
Here's a prayer from the Bob. O Lord, enable all the peoples of the earth to gain admittance into the paradise of thy faith, so that no created being may remain beyond the bounds of thy good pleasure. From time immemorial, thou hast been potent to do what pleaseth thee, and transcendent above whatsoever thou desirest. And again, that is prayer by the Bob. Well,
So one of the things that we also point out every week is that this is a multi-community effort that allows us to put this on. And for anyone out there who would like to know more about the Baha'i faith, there are some resources that are available to us. One of them is www.baha'i.us, www.baha'i.org, www.baha'iteachings.org. And if you happen to be in the Tampa Bay, St. Pete area and would like to know more about the faith, you can always go to the Clearwater Baha'i Center at www.clearwaterbaha'is.org for more information.
yes. Thanks for sharing that, because I was going to forget.
You're welcome. And if we start our final song right about now, we should end on time.
Yes. O people of justice, be as brilliant as the light, and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth. Whilst the fierceness of the flame of enmity and hatred cannot but result in strife and ruin, we beseech God that he may shield his creatures from the evil designs of his enemies. He verily hath power over all things. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Oh, oh. Be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Oh, oh. Watch over yourselves, for the evil one is lying in wait, ready to entrap you. Gird yourselves against his wicked devices, and led by the light of the name of the all-seeing God, make your escape from the darkness that surroundeth you. Let your vision be world-embracing, rather than confined to your own self. These are the words of Baha'u'llah. Be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Oh, 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 oh. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you here again next week. Have a good one. Take care. And I guess it is up to me.
Share the love.
Yes, I forgot. That's right.